Simon Vincent next. But let me get this started by saying we had nearly, 20 months of hell. And just as we're about to reopen and rebound as a sector, hospitality businesses globally are scrambling around for workers. There are some fun stories, but first of all, I want to invite the man I'm told who has not just all the answers, but I'm told is the man to turn to if you want results. Please welcome on stage Simon Vincent OBE, who is the president for EMEA at Hilton, where he's responsible for, Simon, 75,000 employees across 70 different countries. And he's been a bit of a man on a mission at Hilton. He had a very successful, illustrious career at Apollo, Thomas Cook. And over the last 14 years at Hilton, he has doubled the portfolio under the Hilton umbrella. Such a pleasure, Simon.
Thank you very much. Very good to see you this morning.
Likewise. I heard you flew in this morning, so thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
I have to ask you, there's so many fun stories, right? And I'm sure you've heard a few of them. Restaurants opening only for 4 days in a week. Hotels doing 2 shifts instead of 3. Automation. Limiting linen change. And there was this really fun one where the general manager was taking laundry home because there was no guarantee that the delivery will happen on time next morning. You have a very global view, Simon, because you're looking at also different markets, 70 different countries, and it's all different in different markets. Tell us, where are you at Hilton, magically untouched or in the eye of the storm?
Oh, listen, I think we're somewhere between the two, probably. It's been an extraordinary 18 months. I don't think any of us have experienced anything like this before. At the height of the crisis, we had circa 80% of our hotels suspended. We're now, thankfully, pretty much open around the globe, which is great to see. But we have got different markets recovering at different stages. So if you look globally, probably our American and Chinese business are about a quarter ahead of our Middle Eastern business, and our Middle Eastern business is probably a quarter ahead of our UK and European business. There are some nuances in and around that. Clearly, we've had spikes in COVID, second, third spikes, etc., which have stalled the recovery somewhat. But I feel we're very much on the way back. We've had a very strong third quarter, and if you look at our progression Q1 over Q2 to Q3, there's a good storyline there. So I'm feeling optimistic about where we are. I'm feeling optimistic about the future. I think our business on the books for 22 looks pretty strong. Our challenge is going to be converting it and moving the business forward.
You also have very ambitious growth plans at Hilton, Simon. And all of that is linked to finding the right talent. So tell me, where are you with your recruitment strategy? Are you doing something different? How are you finding with the number of applications received? How many of them are converting? What are you seeing as trends?
Yeah, listen, I mean, again, it's even within my region. I mean, I'm 75 of the 120 countries we operate in, and different markets are at different stages. There's no question about that from a demand and supply for labor perspective. You know, to put all this in context, we've got 6,500 hotels worldwide. We've got another 2,500 in the pipeline. So, you know, we are growing significantly, and we do need to position Hilton and I think our industry more broadly as a place to work where you can drive a successful career and not just look at it as a job. And I think we as a hospitality industry have a big role to play in doing that. I think it's a fantastic industry. If you love to travel, if you love customers, if you want variety, I can't think of a better place to be. And there are so many great examples of inspirational leaders within our business that have started at entry levels into this great industry and worked their way right the way to the top. And I mean, Joachim Jan Sleifer, who runs our Middle East and African business, would be a great example. Started as a banqueting steward in the Hilton in Brussels and is now president of Middle East Africa. One example. Patricia Pace Champion, who runs my revenue management and commercial business. She started as a housemaid and is now my director of commercial. There are so many examples, and I don't know how many industries you can actually really point to that level of progression and that level of longevity in a career. And so I think we as an industry have got a responsibility to tell that message and reposition the industry.
I'm going to come to that, but I want to ask you about something that you touched upon early, where we talk about the broader recruitment challenges for the industry. To me, it's also a telling sign that it's now the time to walk the talk with the culture and what that represents for an organization, because this is an ultra-competitive environment, and if you don't deliver on what you stand for, you're going to obviously face recruitment challenges. So tell me, how do you make culture a value proposition at Hilton? And how do you measure it, Simon?
Listen, we've always had a very strong culture, that started with our founder, Conrad Hilton, who, had a very inspirational view about the role of hospitality and the role of, that hospitality can play in economic growth, in individual growth, in personal growth. He talked about hospitality, spreading the light and warmth of hospitality on a global basis, and that, to this day, is Hilton's, clear purpose in life. And I think culturally, the culture, and Peter Drucker was very famously said, culture trumps strategy, or eats strategy for breakfast. And I think that's very true. I look at culture as the glue that holds the organization together, that links the strategy to the individual activities that people are doing on a day-to-day basis and the tactics that you're deploying as an organization. And it's getting your team to unite around that single vision, underpinned by a very clear set of values. And it's something that's very, very close to the heart of Chris Nocetta, our chief executive, and indeed the whole executive committee. We are the custodians of that vision of Conrad Hilton. It's a great gift that we've been given to do that, and I think the strength of the Hilton culture has never been more evident than in the last 18 months, and I think it's absolutely critical to any organization seeking to attract and retain talent and to develop its overall brand proposition. So culture underpins everything.
And now I want to go back to what you were speaking of before. We do have a problem of perception in our industry, don't we? There is still the wider belief that it's high stress, 14-hour jobs, and low pay. And it's a twofold problem, because it's a communication challenge just as much as anything else. And it's a huge process to shift that mindset. How do you reckon we should deal with it?
I think we've just got to tackle it head on. And I think we've all got a responsibility to play a broader role in extolling the virtues of hospitality as a career. And, I stand by this business as any other business. I mean, I started my career in banking.
You're a former banker turned hotelier.
So, this to me is, it's a unique business in so many ways, because, there are so many opportunities. If you want to go into finance, if you want to go into design and construction, or you want to go into interior design, or you want to go into feasibility, if you want to go into revenue management, I think it's our responsibility to communicate the extent and the breadth of careers that are available in hospitality. I think we've got to do a lot of work on looking at flexibility and looking at the talent pools that we're trying to access. I mean, some of the stats that you shared in your earlier presentation, we've got to get after other groups of targeted workers that we haven't necessarily focused on previously. And I think also we need to speed up the progression within hospitality as well. And you talked about 135 years to equalize the gender gap. I think we've got to accelerate paths to more senior positions within hospitality more quickly, and to facilitate that so that people feel that they're making that level of progression quicker.
I have 2 follow-up questions, but I do want to ask the audience to keep your questions ready, please. You have Simon, Vincent, please ask any questions that you may have. I'm coming back to the audience. Simon, about recruiting from a diverse pool. I love this example of the British Army. If you remember, at some point they had the, I think it was the, let's go after the weirdos, the
misfits.
The misfits. And it was really recruiting from a completely different group of people that you hadn't considered before. do we really need to make that intrinsic in our sector? Because we're still doing the traditional recruiting.
No, I think we do. And funny you should mention that. And this wasn't pre-arranged by any stretch, but we actually had the British Army talking to our UK general managers yesterday about recruitment. We've got a huge challenge in the UK, as you know, a combination of COVID, Brexit, and a slight structural change, I think, in the way that the workforce are looking at their careers. And that's probably the biggest challenge we've got on a global basis right now. And we are turning to such alternative channels to, to really look at how we are going about recruiting and ultimately retaining our team members. And we've got to widen the pool, widen the net, no question about it.
Fantastic. Can I take some questions from the audience at this point? We have Michael Levy. Michael, please.
Absolutely, and already do. I mean, again, I can speak for Hilton at the moment, but I think it does start at the top, and I think it's our responsibility and the responsibility of everyone in this room to get behind this kind of initiative. Our board of directors, there's 4 females on that board of directors. That's been a very deliberate policy for us over the course of the last few years. If you look at our executive committee, I've got 3 female colleagues on that executive committee as well. And at every single level on a quarterly basis, we will be looking at our profiling of our team at job level through various different lenses of diversity, be it female or be it black or be it disabled, et cetera, et cetera. And it's something that I think unless you put those kind of processes in place and get the commitment from the top, that you don't instill into the organization. So we're totally committed to all of this. The figures speak for themselves, I think. We've got a ways to go, no question about it. But I think we're all responsible, and I've already got 3 sponsors within Hilton, and I have mentees as well. So there we go.
Any other questions at this point in time? Nick, please.
How do you anticipate your internal talent development to change over the coming years?
Sorry, say that again? Internal talent development?
Development. How do you anticipate that your talent development programs will change over the coming years?
Listen, I think there's a strong move, I think, to facilitating your own talent development. And by that I mean, if you look at what we are now doing online and how we're mixing that with face-to-face talent development and how we're linking to colleges and official certifications, if you like. A lot of it is about the individual taking responsibility for their own talent development, albeit guided within a process and a system. And I think that's probably been the sea change for us in many respects. We've got something called the Hilton Worldwide University. You can actually go on there and you can take courses, and you dip in and out of mentoring sessions or sponsor sessions or coaching sessions with individuals. So we are very much putting the onus on the individual, but we're giving them the guidance as well and the structure within to which to develop their talents. And there's a whole array of stuff on there, and I think that's been quite transformational, just in terms of getting consistent material out to 120 countries around the world that you can have staff access. We've got clear progression for general managers, clear progression for all levels in the organization, depending where you want to specialize. And it's a combination of internal and external facing activities. So I think the big change for me has been going online and opening up the world of learning for individuals to do. And we're sponsoring people to do that in company time as well.
I want to pick up on something that you said early on, Simon, about flexibility, the need for weaving in flexibility. I'm just playing devil's advocate here. Is it really possible in a 24/7 operation like we do in hospitality?
Mm-hmm.
And to what extent?
Well, look, Uber have done it. Deliveroo have done it. All these gig economies have done it. I mean, you can become an Uber driver and you can get your shifts on your app. And so we're actually working at the moment with a tech company to look at mix and matching shifts between hotels. And I would say this is the other thing that's come through the whole COVID piece, where we've had to engender much more flexibility into roles and responsibilities, and much more co-sharing of responsibilities and co-working of responsibilities, and therefore multi-skilling people across different disciplines. And in some ways, I feel hospitality historically has been quite rigid, in terms of the way it's developed its talent within silos, if you like. And now I think, that COVID has forced us to start that multi-skilling an awful lot earlier, and I think we can build flexibility in as well.
Fantastic, very promising. We're speaking a lot about people who have left the sector, but the people who have decided to stay and work in the sector, it's been very hard. It's been exhausting the last 18 months. What are you seeing with your talent? Especially, maybe not at Hilton, but imagine you're a room service attendant and the shifts have gone from 3 to 2, and you're now coming back to a room which is even more dirty than you would find it before. And you've made the decision to stay in the sector, and that's when you question, oh, did I make a mistake? So I'm sure there's exhaustion, mental well-being, which is coming up, and a lot of questioning and soul-searching.
Yeah, no question about it. And look, I've got tremendous admiration for all of our teams that have worked incredibly hard in very difficult circumstances throughout this pandemic, and I salute them for their dedication and their commitment to what is in many ways a vocation for them. And people who are on the front line just love that interaction with customers and love the world of hospitality, I think, and that's a passion that burns very deeply, and it's one that can survive a shock such as this, I think. And so, those that are still with us, I think are the real core and the heart and soul of our culture and our organisation. There's no question that there are higher stress levels in roles at the moment. People have been working extremely hard. We have to be more aware of mental health, and there's a bargain to be struck between employer and employee in relation to this, and I think it's going to accelerate that bargain, no question.
I know I'm conscious of the time, but I do want to ask you, I love the on-demand staffing idea, a bit like Uber Eats, but what would be your other moonshot ideas, Vincent, for operators listening in, wanting to learn from you, and for investors deciding to choose the Hilton brand? Some really moonshot ideas on culture and raising the aspirational quotient of the sector.
Yeah. Listen, I think, we're going to... moonshot idea is the Hilton Hotel on the moon, obviously, which Conrad Hilton trailed in the 60s. But no, listen, I think integrating technology into the customer journey in a more extensive, deeper way to release our team members to do what they enjoy doing most, which is serving the customers, I think is the way that we're focusing our efforts in the short term. And I think that will pay dividends longer term.
I don't want to let you go without asking you, for all the young people listening in, hear from Simon Vincent, why should anyone join the hospitality industry? Why is it worth the blood, sweat, and tears?
I think it's the best industry in the world.
You can do. You have to deliver a better pitch, Simon.
It gives. Look, I think if you want a challenge, if you want variety, if you want to meet interesting people, if you want to travel, I can't think of a better industry.
Fantastic. Famous last words. Thank you very, very much, Simon.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.